First, let's talk about Greenshift's repeater block. The repeater block allows us to take dynamic content and display it in a uniform and repeatable manner. So, that might be a bit vague, but in this example, it's going to be real simple, and it's going to give you an idea of how else you could use this repeater block on other examples. So, let's pretend that our website is a restaurant website, and we have a menu, and we would like to display a bunch of food items on there. So let's head over to Pages first, and I've already created this page called Our Menu, okay? And, well, if we wanted to add menu items, like food items, let's say a steak or something, we can go ahead and add rows, columns, sections, containers, and then we can add headings and icon boxes for prices, info boxes, and then images, you name it, for our items. But it becomes a bit tedious if we have a proper menu, if we have more than just a few items. So this page is called Our Menu. Well, it's published already. And we want to maximize WordPress to our full advantage. So under posts, I've already prepared these top 6 ones as food items. And you can have a separate plugin turn posts into a different name, such as food items. But as you can see here, we have our title, which is what the food item is, and our featured image is set to the image of the food item. Okay, but it's kind of missing a few things. Okay, yeah, we have our tags over here, and I've set that up. But before we move further in this project, we're going to be using, in this example for custom fields, ACF, or this stands for Advanced Custom Fields. And there are many other plugins that do exactly the same thing. But for this video, we're going to be using ACF, the free version. You can see it's not a pro version. And let's add a field group. So for this one, we're just going to call it main group. Okay. And for the first one, we're going to set it as a number. And we're going to put price. I'll probably, yeah, all caps. All right. I'll probably put it, there you go, price. And let's close and add the next field, which is going to be a text area. And we're going to call it short description. And it's automatically going to populate the field name. So let's close this. And we're going to show this field group under post type is equal to post. And let's save those changes. And with this plugin, also, just as a side note, we can set a custom post type. So if we wanted to have a separate one here instead of posts, it says food options or menu items, we can do that with this plugin. But again, we're pretending that this website is a restaurant website, so we're just going to use posts as is to keep things really simple. Okay? And let's go ahead and add a new field group, and we're going to call this one relationships. Okay? We're going to set this one up as, let's scroll down here to relationship. We're going to call this menu items relationship. Okay. And we're going to make sure these are all selected. Return format is post object. And we're going to select this as page is equal to, it's going to display equal to our menu. And let's go ahead and save our changes over here. And that should be good. So we have our 2 field groups, which are going to be the main group, which is going to be the price and the short description. Display location only on posts, right? And our relationships only on pages. Now, let's head over back to our posts here, and let's edit our fresh garden salad. And off camera, I've already done this. You can see we have our title, we have our featured image, and you can see that it gives us these fields where we can enter some data. So price is $19.50. We've inserted a short description over there, and you can see even with this other example, it's going to be the same, a different price, a different description, different title, obviously, and a different image. Now, let's head back over to our pages, and this is a bit back and forth, but hopefully this example is simple enough that you get what we're trying to do. So under our menu, okay, you can see that we have these selected. So if you set it up for the first time, it's going to look like this, right? It's going to be blank. We're going to select post, and there's some Latin ones over here, and those are just the default ones from the theme when we've imported it. And we're going to go ahead and select only the food items, and these are going to be the ones that are going to be displayed on our page. And we'll take a look at this again later. So there's our menu, and let's go ahead and actually add the reader block. So here in our block editor, there are a couple ones, Repeater Builder and Dynamic Repeater. They do the same thing, but Dynamic Repeater gives us more freedom. The Repeater Builder, I don't know if it's going to display properly, but it's going to give you some images already. Both work perfectly fine, or both work the same way, but this one gives us a bit more freedom. So let's go ahead and configure this under, well, these are going to be as is, and you can see limit items. You can see if I just put one, it's going to limit it. If I leave it blank, it's going to be unlimited. So we can now select our dynamic source, and you can see here there are a lot of options, which we'll get into eventually. And you can see here ACF, ACPT, but it's not very important because we can just use relationship post objects as we've set up earlier. Now let's go ahead and click on current and latest. And for post type, let's use page. And here we have this hamburger icon, and we can scroll down and look for our menu items relationship. And as you can see, there are more now. Now that's an indication of something, and everything's working just fine. So if it's more than 3, and you have more than 3 inputs, that's great. Now let's go ahead and populate our repeater field. So if we click on our dynamic repeater, we have this top toolbar. We can edit our inner layout, and as you can see here, we get this single template area. So you can see select repeater field is what's going to repeat all throughout. And this is just an ordinary area of the block editor, kinda. And we're going to press this plus icon. We're going to add the meta getter. And you can see it's different from just this default one, which is just a div element. And let's go ahead and delete that. I don't really need that at the moment. And you can see, well, from here, we have custom fields. We have WooCommerce, taxonomy terms, archive meta post data, user data, ACF fields, and this repeater one. And you can see that we can select post title, and you can see it starts to populate our areas over here with a different one. So it's working just fine. So let's go back over here and let's start and look for dynamic image. Okay, and you can see it's going to display the latest one, of course, because we've set this as is. And we can use the repeater field, and we can go ahead and insert, well, use the thumbnail URL, and you can see it's starting to change for each one. And let's go ahead and make this small, and you can see it's changed. And well, one by one, let's go ahead and start centering these up, just so that it's a bit easier to see. Since this one isn't playing well with that, let's align it in the center from our options here as a dynamic image. And let's go ahead and add the plus icon again, add a block, another meta getter, and we'll go down to repeater. In the repeater field, you can see where we have price. So just click on that, and it's going to be automatic for each one of these. You can see on the left-hand side there. Let's center this up. And let's go ahead and do the same for our short description. If it'll even allow us, there we go. Another meta getter and repeater field for short description. And we're going to center that up. And last but not least, let's add a separator just to keep things separated. A separator down here, and we're going to add some margin down there to keep things separate. We can have it be a wide line. And now, well, okay, this works, but what if we want to make it look a bit nicer? So we can go over here to the repeater settings, the meta getter, and we have our, we can add an icon to this if we wanted to. We can, well, if you want, let's go ahead and do that. Add an icon to this, or probably this, and we can change the colors, the margins, the value typography. We can change the text color to be deep red here. We can change the font size, right? Make it all caps, or make it bold. Change the font size here to be a bit bigger. And then the same thing with our other options here. Oops. And if it's hard to do that, just go over here to your outline and then select which meta getter you want to change. And we can add, well, we can make this a bit bigger here. Okay, make it large. And we can select the text color to be black. And we can change the spacing. We can add a background to this. If we wanted to, that should be all right. If we wanted to, we can prepend something to this. So, oops, not that. We can add this. And there's our dollar value. And that should be fine. So let's go ahead and click on Done. And let's go ahead and click on Save. And let's preview our menu. So here we have our menu on our restaurant called Smile Done. And we have our menu items over here. Lovely and laid out. Very yummy looking. And it's very enticing. So this is the key to using the repeater block in Greenshift. So we have our data that we've input using custom fields, right, with ACF. And we have our data that we've input, and we've used the repeater block to retrieve all of that stored data and display it on our site in this manner. As you can see right now, we're going to go back to our little relationships over here. And if you scroll back down here, right, we have our 6 items. So let's say we want to take out the classic beef lasagna. I'll take that off the menu. We don't want the vegan Buddha bowl, and we also don't want the spicy black bean burger. So we can take those off of the menu, click on Save, and it's going to save. And let's reload our menu page. And as you can see, we only have 3 items left. So you can do this manually, or if you selected the options over here, you can limit the items to 3, but it's going to be from the latest. So the top 3 ones that you put over here are going to be the ones displayed. All right. So there's our menu using the repeater block in Greenshift. In this example, we're going to be demonstrating the Greenshift repeater taxonomy capability. So let's head over to our posts, and you can see that we have some allergen or special dietary information in their tags. So let's go ahead and make a category index or archive using these tags so that it'd be easier for our customers to navigate if they have any special dietary needs. So let's go ahead and create a new page. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and name this allergen info / special diet needs. Okay, and let's go ahead and insert our repeater block here. Okay, there it is. And let's go ahead and configure the settings. So we don't really want to limit the items. For our dynamic source, we're going to go ahead and click on Taxonomy List Data. We're going to go ahead and click on Post. Okay, so there's only 4 tags anyway, or types of tags. You can see that our repeater field is starting to work. We're going to go ahead and click on Tags. All right. And then for our taxonomy filters, we're going to order by name, and we're going to make it ascending. So this is going to be alphabetical. You can type here count, and it would display by the number of posts within that tag. And, you know, we can go ahead and show empty if there are any. For example, if we took some menu items out, we want to keep it on name and ascending just so it's easier to navigate as a user. Let's go ahead and click on the pencil icon here, edit inner layout, and let's go ahead and start adding blocks. So we're going to use the metagetter again, and let's go ahead and delete this one. Right, we're going to go ahead and select metagetter, and we're going to be choosing right here post and repeater. Let's go ahead and put name. And you can see we have gluten-free, spicy, vegan, vegetarian, all coming out. Okay, let's go ahead and center that up. And let's go ahead and add another one, another metagetter, and same thing, post. And repeater, we're going to go ahead and put count. Okay, and let's go ahead and center that. And that's basically it. So here we can see that we're listing down our tags, which happen to be for our food items, allergen info, and special dietary needs. And it lists down, okay, let's say I have a gluten allergy. It's right there. It's easy to see, right? If I'm vegan or vegetarian, I can quickly see here that there are 3 menu items that are available. And how do I make this work? So let's go ahead and click on Publish. And, you know, right now it's still in the white. It doesn't really look too good, and we can't actually use these. So, yes, I can see that there are, there's a spicy option. I probably wouldn't want to eat that. If I have gluten allergy again, I can say that, oh, okay, this is great. I'm trying to click on it, but it's not showing me anything. So let's go ahead and configure this. And at the same time, we're also going to be editing how it looks. So let's go ahead and click again on our pencil icon here. And we're going to scroll down here on this first metagetter. And we're going to click on link. Let's enable the link from the block. And we're going to go ahead and select repeater data, right? There's a few options here. Repeater data, and we're going to select permalink. And this will get the data from the permalink. And you can see here that if we select our repeater field to show permalink instead of name, it's going to show the tag archive for that. Okay, and with that done, let's go ahead and change the value typography. Let's change the color to red. Font size, let's make it large, and let's make it all caps. Okay, yeah, and we can add some backgrounds to these. You know what? Yeah, let's go ahead and add a pleasing background to this, and we can go ahead and add some. We can change this one to be a bit bigger. Oops. Medium, and we can change the font, lettercase, align it. We can add some. We can add this, and that should be fine. So let's go ahead and click on done. And you can put a description on this if you wanted to, but for this, we're demonstrating that you can just go ahead and pull your taxonomy list data, among other things, to display a special category index such as this. So let's go ahead and click on View Page. And here we have a special page that is allergen info and special dietary needs. And if I was a vegan and I could only eat vegan food, I can click on this one, and it's going to show me this dish that is a vegan Buddha bowl. If I was a vegetarian, I could click on this, and it's going to show me the archive for all of the vegetarian options. And then similarly, if I had a gluten allergy and I could only eat gluten-free foods, I click on this, and it's going to show me all of the foods that I can order that are gluten-free. For this example, we're going to be using Greenshift's repeater to display related items and cross-post on our individual food items, or on our individual posts. So first off, we want to take a look at our posts. Let's go to all posts, and we're going to see that we have these tags on our individual food items that we're using as our example. Like, we're using posts to demonstrate the capabilities to repeat the data. So let's say for each one of these, we want to repeat, we want to show that there are other vegetarian options among these 3 dishes. So let's go ahead and enter ACF, and we're going to set up our field group. Okay, I've already prepared this one in advance. This one is called Food Item Related Fields. It is a relationship type field, and I've called it Related Dishes. This is automatic. We're going to filter by post type, to post, and we can filter taxonomy to vegetarian. You don't actually have to put this on there. And let's close the field. We have to set it as post object, by the way. Post type is equal to post. Let's save the changes, and let's head over again to our posts to double check that. Let's click on this one, Vegan Buddha Bowl, and you'll see that once we've added that field, we have food item related fields here, and we have these ones that are going to be vegan options, vegetarian options, and we've set it to only that, so this is the only tag that'll appear. So it narrows down our options. If you set it to all tags and categories, things from others will show up on here. So if we wanted vegetarian only, not necessarily vegan, we can go ahead and select these, and these are going to be the ones that are going to appear on our page, well, our post. So let's go ahead and save that and take a look at our post. Now, our post, it's kind of bare. There's only the image and the tags and a button to click on everywhere else. So in order to make it appear here, let's say here are some other vegan options for you to try. Let's go ahead and edit our single post template. And we've switched from Block C over to the Greenshift theme because the Greenshift theme allows us to go into Appearance, enter the editor, and we can edit how our single posts look like. Now, let's head over to Patterns. Oh wait, no, not Patterns. Templates. And let's scroll down over here to Single. And now we will be editing our single post template. Okay? And see all of this is placeholder stuff. Let's go ahead and insert a container over here. And let's add a heading. And we're going to call it Other Options for You to Try. And let's enter that up. And let's add a dynamic repeater down here. Okay, let's close this. Okay, here are our fields. Let's set up our source. Well, let's set this to only 2, I suppose. Let's set this to relationship post objects, current latest, post, and down here, let's scroll down and look for related dishes. Excellent, and you can see we've limited it only to 2. Now let's set this one up, and let's add a meta getter. Let's delete this field over here. Oops. And let's select repeater, and we can put post title. Okay, and these are going to be the two over here. And we can enable a link. And we're going to get the source from repeater, and we're going to select permalink. Okay, and then we can go ahead and center this up. And let's go ahead and add an image to each one of these. So let's put dynamic image over here. Let's center this. And let's set this to small. And it's here. Let's center it over here. And let's put this on top. And let's go ahead and click on the repeater field. And then we're going to select thumbnail URL over here. And you can see it displays just fine. Let's go ahead and add a separator to this just because they're a bit too close to each other. All right, put it down here. Let's put this, oops. Let's put this up and down. Okay, click on Save, done, and then save. And then let's go ahead and view our site. Or actually, that was a mistake. Let's go ahead and take a look at our individual posts here. So all posts, let's click on, let's click on view page over here. Admittedly, I could have probably done it from over there. And you can see that here it displays. Here it doesn't display. And over here it displays. So there you have it. You have related cross posts on our other posts using Greenshift's repeater. And obviously hidden from the ones that don't. In this example, we're going to use Greenshift's repeater block to gather a bunch of comments and make a page that's like reviews or testimonials. So let's go ahead and open up a brand new blank page. And we've set up some dummy comments in order to pull our data from. So let's actually go back to our index over here. And you can see all of our comments over here, and we have our names and our approved comments. So let's go ahead and make our page. So we have our blank page over here. Let's give it a title. What our customers have to say. Sure. Let's go ahead and save that. And let's go ahead and add in the repeater block. Oops. Repeater. All right. Dynamic repeater. And here it is. Fully loaded in. And we're going to select our repeater data to comments. Okay. And we're going to have 5 here since we have 5 comments and we know that it's working. And we can limit the amount and we can order them starting by name, by count. Just keeping this is just going to be fine. And let's go ahead and edit the inner layout. So let's add some meta getters. Okay, let's delete this one. And then this one, let's go ahead and use repeater. And we can put author. And you can see it starts to list them out individually. So let's keep that on the left. Let's duplicate this. Let's put it on the top. Let's center that. And let's change this to content. And that should be perfectly fine. So we can go ahead and start by formatting these. We can make it as div or H3, H2. And then for the names, we can make them H3. Oh, yeah, H3 should be fine. And we can go ahead and change the typography, change the text color to something else. Right, make it purple or something. And we can put a container or spacers on these. So let's go ahead and put a spacer just to keep these a bit more tidy. And let's make it a wide line, change the color to this. Okay. And that's just a real simple example. So again, our dynamic repeater here is gathering data from comments and the latest one, and we have retrieved the data from repeater, content, and then for this one it's repeater and then author. And you can also put the avatar over here if you want to put their images, but since these are basically anonymous, that's all we're gonna get. So let's view the live page, and here we have a page that says what our customers have to say. And my mistake here was that we set them as div, the semantic tags, and they didn't really save the formatting. So here we have a page that says what our customers have to say, and we have gathered all the comments from our website, and we are displaying them on here with Greenshift's repeater. So far, this video has been concerned primarily with the functionality of the dynamic repeater and the metagetter within Greenshift. Now you can see once we set everything up, we have our relationships, our ACF fields, and we have our data, and it's repeating nicely, and we've laid it out with our typography and fonts and sizes and so on. It looks really good, but by default, it just stacks out our repeater data just like this. What if we wanted to put this into a more interesting manner? Because sometimes you don't really want to have everything just like this on your website, right? So all we have to do is, we're here on our dynamic repeater block. We'll scroll down here to local styles, and over here, right, you'll see these 4 squares in a box layout. It's called layout, and we can change it on normal, hover, or on focus or active, and then we can change how this looks like on desktop, tablet, or mobile. Okay, but right now we'll just be concerned about the default one, and there's a few different display options to choose from. So we can just hide this, right? So we can completely just hide this on how this looks like on mobile, right? Or we can go ahead and go with the default one, which is inline. We can turn this into an inline block, as you can see, and we can turn this into simply a block. We can enable inline flex, right? And then there's some layout presets here that you can choose from, and we can change the ratios between these. We can enable snap. We can change the content alignment, as you can see. We can enable a flex box, as you can see, and then we can choose which layout we want. Okay, there you go. Real nice and simple. And we can change the layout of these, like how they're supposed to look like, right? And we can adjust them accordingly, and we can also align the items inside, and we can also change how it wraps. Okay, and you can see we have some other options here, such as grow, shrink, alignment, and gaps. And then over here we have grid, and we can click on enable grid builder, and then we can auto detect it, right? 5, we can put 6, but it's not going to do anything, right? And we can change how much columns there are for desktop, tablet, and mobile. So we can also allow overlap. We can change the compact type. We can generate the layout, and that's how it's going to look like. And when we move over to tablet, it's automatically going to change to 3 boxes. And if we changed over to mobile, it's going to be just 1 column. So basically inline, but again, this is the layout, which is, oops, not this one, which is adapting to our view. Okay, so if you wanted to mess with that, you have a bunch of different options to choose from. Again, we have our spacing options, and we can also edit. Where these things go. So you see, we have our each one of these, right? So our price, we can put it over here. We can put our image over here. We can change how many we have over here, all right? And then again, we can change our row gaps and column gaps. Let's go ahead and show you how those look like. Excuse me. And we can change our automatic alignment and everything, and so on and so forth. So that's how you're supposed to organize or rearrange or design in such a way that each one of your layout items comes out looking really nice, and it takes up less space on your website, and it looks much nicer than just having everything in line if it doesn't need to be, right? So we'll stick with that. We'll click on publish, and let's take a look at how it looks like on the live site. And here's our menu, and it's very easy and simple to use. We have our titles over here. We have our images and our prices rather than the original, which was just inline. Okay, it's a bit easier to read now. And you can probably put headers here, and you can manually insert item name, image, or like price over here on the top if you wanted to. Okay. For this segment, we're going to be talking about a very useful feature in the Greenshift Repeater block, and that is the test data feature. So in this example, we have a list of books with title, author, and ISBN as their fields. And if we go over here to SCF, we have our field groups. We click on book details, which is what we call it. Our field group has book title, author, and ISBN. They're all set up basically the same way. Okay. And over here, we also have a custom post type called books. And if you clicked on one of these, you're going to see that we have, it's basically blank, right? But here we have the fields to input the book details for a book title, author, and ISBN. And back here on the back end, so this is the editor, we have our dynamic repeater over here. We've selected relationship post objects, and we can select either current or latest or definite. For current or latest, it's going to be pulling the data for the backend for the preview over here from our latest page, which is going to be this one. And this one doesn't have any on it, so we won't be getting the right preview. Similarly, at the same time, the current data that we're using here is what will be used for the front end. But in our case, since we have the books type here, post type or page type, will have to be selected from here, right? So page, and then over here, we're going to want to put in our featured books, and it's set up as that. And then once we finally click on test data, here it's going to output all of the important items. So as you can see, for each one of these, right, each one of them has a post ID, and more importantly, we have our page title over here, and it's displaying correctly down over here, even down here. You can see we have our post title, our book title, our author, and our ISBN number, which correlates over here. And this is key so that we can test out if we're pulling the correct data where we want it to be seen, right? And with that, we can clean data, change some things up. Let's say on the back end over here, right? We're going to edit one of these, and we can go ahead and test the data again, and we're going to be able to confirm whether or not we're pulling the correct data. Otherwise, if we didn't set this up correctly, let's say we put this on just book and just didn't point it anywhere, if we tested data, you're going to see it's going to give us our placeholder data over here. So you got to make sure that you select the correct area where you want to pull your data from, and it's going to display correctly first and foremost over here. But similarly, you're going to be able to see that it works properly on test available data as well.